Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my boogaloos. It's been a while since I've done a solo episode. I think it's been at least 2 months. As you guys know, we haven't been doing it because Ramadan really wore us out, and then we were traveling in Bangladesh and things like that. But we're finally back with solo episodes. So if you guys didn't see Mashroon's one from last week or 2 weeks ago about him making friends as someone that's not really good at making friends, make sure to watch or listen to that. But today's episode is going to be very interesting. Something that I didn't really think that I was going to talk about or even bring to the public, just because it was a very scary encounter. And it's still a very scary thing that I'm kind of getting over. So as you guys might know, I post a lot of solo travel and, just me navigating New York City alone in my mid-20s. And you guys love that type of content because I feel like it's still very rare for brown girls like me to just navigate the world on their own. It's very taboo to just be by yourself and not have to depend on a man to just go outside and do the basic things of groceries and things like that. So when I first moved out alone almost 3 years ago now, it was such a big transformational thing in my family because first of all, I'm the first woman in my whole lineage to first of all move out, but second, to be alone when doing it and just not be married. So it was such a big deal. And you guys saw that, and you appreciated that type of content. And all in all, it's been such a great journey. Obviously, there have been hard points financially, mentally, when you are moving out by yourself and just navigating a city by yourself. It is hard. But all in all, it's been pretty good, right? I love my solo travel experiences. You guys know I went to Paris. I went to Amsterdam, solo traveled. It was one of the best times of my life. And there are obviously, also I'm sick, by the way. There are obviously some people out there that are very hesitant to do these things because of the scary people out in the world, the scary things that do happen. And I completely understand that. But also at the end of the day, you can't constantly live your life in fear, because then you're going to be 60 or 70 years old and you're just going to be regretful because you're oh my god, I passed by my whole life without doing the things that I really want to do because I was scared. So we don't want to live our life in fear, right? So that's why I always try to preach the empowering side of things, and I try to really help you guys make the scary move or scary travel journey or whatever it is just by yourself, so that you can kind of feel more powerful and you are more happy with yourself. Just take those small steps. But if I don't also share the negative side of things, what's really the point of it, So the other day, this incident happened to me and it was pretty scary. I was pretty shaken up. I did have a flight the next morning, so I couldn't really process it. And so as you guys might know, I went to Florida for my photo shoot. I spent time with Mashoon, his family, and we did a lot of fun things. So I had a great trip, and it was a great way to just kind of try to forget about what happened. But then I had to come back, obviously, back home to New York and kind of relive what happened and acknowledge it. And so basically, you guys might have seen, I posted it finally on my social media platforms, on my Instagram and TikTok. It's at mohuya if you guys don't know. And I posted my encounter with this random man following me to my apartment, basically, in New York City, right? And it was something that I never really experienced before, especially to that extent. And so my first instinct was to start recording the encounter just in case something worse happened and I had it on video and I had evidence, right? So this is what basically happened, okay? And I'm sharing the story not to scare you, but to basically show you that there's obviously the scary and bad side of things. It's not always just rainbow and butterflies. And to also kind of show you maybe what you might do in a situation like this, because I personally feel in retrospect, I did a lot of the things right, especially under pressure, especially under anxiety. And I'm kind of low-key proud of myself. So this is what happened. So last week, if you guys are watching this when it first comes out, last week I had an art show and it was incredibly amazing. I had this art show in Manhattan where my art was in a gallery, and all of the proceeds, I believe, were going to mutual aid funds for Sudan and Gaza, right? And I was just like not only happy to be there and have my art in a showcase in Manhattan, but also on top of that, it was going to a good cause, right? And I have been very hesitant about like going outside at night, especially the past few years post pandemic, just because the crimes have gotten very crazy, and I've just become very self-conscious and very like introverted about that. I personally don't like taking the subway and things like that at night anymore. Obviously, if I have to, I have to. So I was coming home from Manhattan back to Queens around 8:30, 9 p.m. So at this point, it's not that late, and my area is still very like family friendly. There's still a lot of people, walking by. It's not like it's a dessert, Dessert is crazy. It's not a sundae ice cream. It's not like a desert, okay? So it was fine. So I was walking home from the subway, and this random guy like stops me, right? And I have AirPods in. I have nothing playing. That's usually the case for me. I just have it in to make it seem like I don't want to be bothered. Usually that's when they don't stop you, or you can pretend to like ignore them. That's also a safety tip for me. Don't have loud music on, especially noise canceling headphones. As a woman, is very scary out in public. So this guy tries to stop me, and I thought he was homeless. I thought he needed some sort of help. That was my mistake, honestly. So I took out my AirPod, and I was like, "Oh, did you say something?" And then he was like just straight complimenting me, and I was like, "All right, thank you." But he also gave me very creepy vibes. His voice was very Michael Jackson scary, and I was like, "Okay, this guy, it seems like scary, right?" So I put my headphones back in, and within those 2 seconds, like literally a split second, you're already in like fight or flight mode, right? I was like, okay, I can either try to basically outrun him and hope that he doesn't follow me and get right at home and have my keys in my hand and just like be ready to open the door, or I can go into a public space right now and have people around me if anything does happen, right? And my first instinct was to just go home and try to like get to safety, like, the alleged safety, as fast as possible and basically outrun him. But I knew that the smart decision was not that. So I quickly went into a public grocery store. I knew this was a well-lit store. There was a lot of people going in and out. It was like a family type of store. There's a lot of cameras inside. I knew that was the best decision for me, right? So I go into the store. This guy is still following me. I'm like pretending to browse around and like look at the fruits and whatever. And he's coming in. He was like, "Oh, like, let me buy you some apples or whatever," right? And, this guy is already creepy. He's literally following me into the store. And I'm like still trying to ignore him, but I'm going deeper into the store to try to escape him. He's following me and getting closer to me. And if you guys see in the video, he's just like straight complimenting me while also trying to like boost his own ego. And he's talking about how his friends like commend him for having balls and like approaching women and being so good with this. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I was like, all right, thank you. And he's still complimenting me. And at this point, I'm like so mad already, right? But also, you can't, like, as a woman, you are told your whole life to be nice to someone, especially a stranger. You're told that you can't react. But also in a situation like this, you're also told to be so rude to the point where they are just shocked and they leave you alone, right? But you can't like be sure of their reaction, because first of all, a lot of women get assaulted or even worse because they say no, right? Like, we know very specific actual incidents of that happening. Even if you're nice to them, they get the wrong idea, and then God knows what they're gonna do, right? There's no winning in this situation. So I got a lot of comments on my videos of people just saying like, "Oh, why were you so nice? Oh, why weren't you mean right away?" Because at the end of the day, first of all, I was in shock. You guys weren't there, the people commenting that. So you don't even know what you would do in that situation. And also, second, I was literally scared for my safety. So I had to kind of still appease this guy, like be kind enough to the point where I had to feel like safe, So anyway, I was saying thank you, but I was still walking away, and my face was like so stone cold. Like, I was not giving him any attention. My face was like turned away. So he had multiple hints that I was not interested. He should have stopped, honestly, when I saw him outside. He should not have followed me into the store, but he did, right? So there were countless amount of times where he should have stopped. He could have gotten the hint, but he kept going. So, you know, we know that this guy is clearly troubled. And anyway, we got to a point where he basically asked me out on a date, right? And I was like, no, I'm married. Like, I literally shut it down so quick just to give him a lie that would hopefully push him away. Because usually, unfortunately, if you do mention that you're married or you're taken or whatever it is, the guy has more respect for the man instead of the woman, which is so unfortunate because, like, why can't I be a human and respected as just myself, but I have to like attach myself to another man for you to respect the situation? It's literally disgusting. So I was hoping that was going to stop him, right? It unfortunately did not, right? That's actually when his voice got even scarier. So at least before, he had this like fake nice guy manipulative tactic, like you know when they like soften their voice to make it sound like they're the really nice guy. Those are the guys you have to really like look out for, because they personally manipulate their voice and the situation into making it seem like you deserve to give them something, you owe them something. And I was not about to fall for it, right? Like even before, he was like, oh yeah, my name is Kevin, like waiting for me to introduce myself. And my obvious instinct is to say, oh yeah, my name is Mo, right? I'm not gonna say that though to a random guy. But again, as women, we're conditioned to be nice and just, you know, give away all this information because that's like our instinct. But why the hell would I do that, right? So I had to literally purposely block that obvious direction for me and go the opposite way and just not respond. I shut it down immediately again. So that's extremely what I recommend for anyone watching this. Like, do not give any personal information. In fact, maybe even lie, you know, just say that your name is Kelly or something. My name is Miranda. But again, that also might encourage their advancements more, like you're trying to like give them information, they're, you know, so you can never really win in this situation. So anyway, when I said that I was married, his voice instantly changed to actually spooky, and he said, oh, you're married? You're lying to me. And I was like, why would I lie to you? And you can just tell that like that's when his voice turned into like what he actually sounds like as a person. And that's like when I felt even angrier, but also like scared, because I was like, first of all, I gave you so many no's already and so many hints that I'm not interested, and you're literally following a woman into a store. But also on top of that, I had to lie and say that I'm married, and you're still not leaving me alone. Like, that's wild to me, you know? Like, you're a sick individual to call me out for lying, but also not get the hint for so many times, right? So that's when I actually got really mad, because I was just like so fed up with it, right? So that's when I raised my voice and I was like, why are you following me into the store? You're literally like, I wanted to make a scene to make sure everyone around me heard it, because at this point the bystander effect was still very real. Like, obviously I was shocked with what was happening, but the people around me were kind of hearing what was happening, but they weren't sure, right? So they were trying to assess from the background. And so when I started creating a scene, I wanted to make sure that everyone understood that I was not trying to like let this situation slide. Obviously, I got my Alani drink right here to give me some energy with the story. So when I started making a scene, I really caught him off guard, because he definitely didn't think that I had it in me. And also, by the way, this whole entire time, as I always do, even if I'm not in a situation like this, but just because I exist as a woman, unfortunately, I always carry my self-defense weapon, right? It's always in my hand. It's essentially like a knuckle puncher type of thing, and I got it from Alythuh, Alythuh, and she has a small business. I've been supporting her for years, and this knuckle puncher has been very heavy duty and good material, so I highly recommend it. And thank God I had it on my keychain, because again, I had a flight the next morning, so I usually take it off before my flight to, you know, go through TSA, but I thankfully had it on still. So once I created the scene, this guy started stuttering, right? He did not expect that, and he started backing off. because I was just like not having it anymore. He started backing out of the store, but while he was backing out, he was just like comparing me to strippers, right? He was like, yeah, the strippers across the street, they're nicer than you. They embrace me, blah, blah, blah. And I was just so like flabbergasted, because I was like, first of all, this is, that this is his real voice, his real personality that was coming out once I actually rejected him. But also, you never know how a guy's going to react when you do reject him. So I was still kind of on edge. And when I did reject him and tell him that I was married, he was like, oh, they always lie to me, And that just is such a big red flag if everything else before that wasn't a red flag for you. Because it's like, first of all, you've tried this tactic with so many other women before. You also know that it's not working and that you're a scary individual. And the fact that other women have to lie or like, protect themselves from you, and you consider that like a bad thing. You consider that as like you're not in the wrong, but the woman is in the wrong. Like, that's just like scary manipulative behavior, But anyway, so as he started backing out of the store and basically saying that to me about all these strippers, he was still kind of like by the entrance of the store. He was lingering there. So at this point, I was trying to get the attention of more of the workers and like the people in the store, so they had an idea of what was going on and they could hopefully potentially protect me, So I actually got the attention of a worker, and I was like, can you help me? This guy is following me. And this man he seemed nice. He seemed like he was trying to protect me, the worker. But also there was a language barrier. It didn't seem like English was his first language. So I can't be too mad at him, but also at the end of the day, he didn't protect me. So basically he told his worker, can you protect me? This guy's following me. So first he said, oh, he's following you. And he like kind of went to the front of the store, and it seemed like the guy wasn't really there anymore, or like right by the front of the store. And he's also probably very used to situations like this. So he assumed that the guy was gonna stop bothering me or like go on along his way. And then the worker came back, and it sounded like he said, let it go, let it go. And I was like, oh, it sounds like he looks like he's following me home, and I live pretty close by, so I would appreciate some help. But, the worker seemed occupied. At the end of the day, he has his own job to do. And I'm not making excuses for him because of his language barrier, because he has work to do. But again, it could have been like a language barrier. Maybe I misunderstood him. Maybe he misunderstood me. Maybe he just didn't understand the length of the situation. But anyway, at the end of the day, it was still pretty shitty for me to ask this man for help, and he wasn't really offering it to me, because at the end of the day, if like a woman is asking for help because she's genuinely scared for her life, like I would expect you to like take it seriously and get some sort of security or like help to walk home, because who else are we supposed to ask, So then at this point, when I realized that he wasn't really offering me any help, I walked to some of the customers that were online, just telling them what was happening. And this black woman, this angel woman, came up to me. She like overheard the conversation, and she offered me help, and she offered to walk me home. And it was just so crazy that it ended up being a woman that did offer me the help instead of like the other people in the store. And I'm so grateful for her, because like she made me feel validated within my experience. She made me feel heard. She walked me home to safety without even knowing who I was. And if it weren't for her, like I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably like call an Uber, or probably like go around the block or something. But even then, I'd have to figure it out myself, which is very unfortunate. So I am very grateful for her. But yeah, I ended up getting home. I actually saw the guy across the street by my home, and thankfully, he did not see where I lived. But yeah, this was a very sad and scary, unfortunate experience. The videos that I posted went completely viral. I think it's at 3 million views right now, and I was not expecting that. But at the end of the day, it seemed like the things that I did, the reactions that I had, were helpful to people in these potential situations, because I wasn't like giving in to him. I wasn't just saying yes to him. I made sure I got the attention of everyone else. So it seemed like I did some of the right things, right? So I'm grateful that I can still help you with my experience. It's unfortunate that this is the way that I am helping you. But with that being said, I do have some safety tips for women navigating the city, navigating New York City, just navigating life. Unfortunately, these are needed for every single woman out there. And I'm going to say some tips that are more like universal and things that can help you in situations, because I can't be that person to be like, oh, be nice to a predator, be mean to a predator, because you don't know what to do in a situation like that. And regardless, both can be dangerous, right? So I'm going to kind of say like universal type of tips. So first thing, and also I have videos like this on my YouTube if you guys don't know. If you guys just search mohuya on YouTube, you'll find like safety tips for New York City. I have videos like this on my TikTok. It's everywhere, like more New York City type of focus videos. So if you guys do need more tips, make sure to watch those. First tip, always carry self-defense weapons. I know in some states, like the knuckle puncher or pepper spray, tasers are illegal. So you do kind of have to figure out what your state regulates, or just get it in some other way just for your safety. So for me personally, I have my knuckle puncher in between my fingers all the time. And I know a lot of people carry like pepper spray. That sometimes goes like against the wind and can hit you instead. So I've seen people recommend like pepper gel, which is more like straightforward, the gel, so it's not gonna like hit you as much. And I know people make like their homemade concoctions. People carry around like different things. And honestly, if that's what makes you feel safe, then do that, right? The next thing I would say is, especially for the subway girlies that take the, metro system, try to get in the middle of the cart or the front of the cart where the conductor or the operator is, because that usually means that help is closer by. Especially at nighttime, if you feel like you're alone or it's just scary outside, I would recommend those places because you're just closer to help, You're not just like in a car by yourself on the subway at nighttime. The next thing that I actually recently discovered is on the iPhone. I'm not really sure about other phones like Samsung. There's a shortcut that you can make yourself and customize where the phone number, if you are in an emergency, you can send like a stream of text to emergency contacts with your location, so you can like give that to close like loved ones or friends or whatever. And it's like essentially like a Siri shortcut that you can speak into, and it just helps you in those type of situations if you are feeling scared or if you're feeling like you're being followed. The next thing that I unfortunately learned is that if you are ever in danger, choose to go to a woman, specifically like an older woman, first instead of a man. It's really sad that a man in that situation wasn't offering me any help, but I didn't really expect more. I mean, I did, but I was disappointed as always. So try to seek help from an older woman, because they will most likely protect you in that situation. Girl code is such a big thing. If it is a younger girl in the train with you and you're being harassed, try to go to that other girl in that situation and pretend like you know her, pretend like you guys are besties, so you have like you're like a duo together, and usually the other person will like follow along and know that you're in danger and protect you. It's so sad that like boy code isn't really a thing with girls. Like they're expected to be our protectors, or they say that they want to be our protectors, but in a situation like that, they're suddenly mute and they don't know how to help. The person that did eventually help me in that situation was an older black woman. Also, a lot of people were like, oh, why didn't you call the police when this guy was following you? Well, because first of all, I don't live in the Hamptons, buddy-o. I don't live in Upper East Side. I'm not getting the police until like an hour later. And even if I do get the police, I'm not like getting any real support if the guy's not really there anymore, right? What are they gonna do? Take the guy in and then release him? No. If a situation like that arises, especially when I have literally 2 seconds to make a decision of either going home and risk being followed and them seeing my address, or going into a public space, I'm gonna choose that and also record on my phone so that I have evidence and actual like concrete something to hold on to, you know? If I'm like using that 2 seconds of time to freak out and they call the police, the guy is still following me. The police is not coming, okay? I hope you guys know that police don't come to low income POC dominated areas because they don't give a shit. They literally do not. If it's like a wealthier environment with white people, that's where the police are more respondent. Like, I hate to break that to you. Other people were like, oh, when you were recording yourself with this interaction, why didn't you flip the camera and show the guy? Because when I was recording this situation, my plan wasn't, oh, I'm gonna post this for millions of people to see, so let me potentially get this guy on camera so that I can protect other women. I was protecting myself at that moment, and I was not trying to flip this guy off more by turning the camera onto him and pissing him off. Like, sorry that I did not think about humanity in that moment while I was being harassed, you know? Like, people don't think when they do respond to public interactions like this. And I feel like that's the problem, because we always complain about bystander effect. We always complain that, you know, when women are getting punched or when situations like this happen, no one does anything to help, right? But also, if you're on social media and you're writing these things instead of providing like actual support or help or well wishes, and you're just like, oh, why didn't you do this in this situation? I would have done this in this situation. Well, the thing is, you're not in that situation, so you don't know how you would react. And also, if you're already saying this online, God knows how you're going to react in real life if this situation happened in front of your face to someone else, right? It's actually sickening. So some of you guys should really assess how you react to things like this, especially online, before you start assuming how you would act in real life. Anyway, I guess this was a good first episode back. Being solo, had to really give you guys the facts. But yeah, I hope something like this literally never happens to you. But if it does, try to keep a straight mind. Try to calm your nerves and just make, the best decision. I feel like usually we're trying to follow our heart in what we should do, but it's the logic that we should actually follow through with, right? Like, there were so many things that I was conditioned to do. Be nice, go home, just try to like get rid of this guy. But I had to follow the logics in that moment and just really persevere and not try to like let my anxiety and like me being scared get in the way. And also, I want to say, you guys know that I do boxing. I like knowing that I can like defend myself if I need to, or just, being able to go to self-defense classes. But I feel like classes like this are very important, obviously, for your safety and physically being able to like hold yourself off if you are in the situation. But I feel like classes like this also build so much confidence and like mental fortitude and strength. So I highly recommend taking not even just boxing classes, not even taking like self-defense classes, but taking some sort of like activity that pushes you out of your comfort zone, that teaches you self-discipline. Because any sort of class, especially taking it in your adult years when you're like the most uncomfortable or pushing yourself out of like that bubble that you're in, teaches you to like do things that you want to do for yourself. It teaches you how to be strong mentally, and it just like makes you respect yourself more and like make decisions on a quickly, so I highly recommend that. But anyways, thank you so much for listening or watching. I really appreciate it, especially for giving me so much support in times like this and well wishes. I am getting better. It was definitely a scary situation, but I've learned a lot, and I'm just hoping that it doesn't happen again or happen to any of you guys. If you guys did like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you guys are listening on Apple, Spotify, or whatever else streaming platform, make sure to leave us a rating, especially on Apple Podcasts. It helps us so much to like get boosted up as a podcast and as a South Asian podcast in general. It's really hard to grow on podcasts and on YouTube, I feel like, because it's so oversaturated nowadays. But also, it's usually not voices like ours, a POC type of voice, that do like get built up, unfortunately. So make sure to give us some love on that. And yeah, you can follow us on our Instagram and TikTok is at difficultish podcast. You can follow me, it's at Mohuya Khan, and you can follow Mashoon, it's at Mashoon Munir. But I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next week for our regularly programmed duo episode. Bye.